On the morning of April 4th, 2007, an assistant Florida state attorney was found dead in his garage, apparently by his own hand. In an email sent to the media the following morning, his boss, state attorney Lawson L. Lamar, wrote this.
All agree that Scott was happy in his life, his family, and his work. The 30-year-old Loyola graduate headed the state attorney's Government Accountability Unit, a new department charged with cleaning up local politics in Central Florida.
What this high-profile unit did and how it was maliciously used against political opponents and law-abiding citizens is the basis for these video clips. We hope to show that the current state attorney in Florida's 9th Judicial Circuit is little different from his more famous brethren of prosecutors gone amok all across America.
We too have our own Mike Nifong right here in Orlando.
We hope these clips will bear witness to this belief.
3 weeks after I announced my candidacy for a county commission seat, I had a sheriff's deputy come into the store where I'm working here, where I own, and of course they they said I had a warrant for my arrest for theft of state funds. And of course I took it as a joke in the beginning because my son-in-law is a detective at Osceola County, and I thought maybe he was trying to play a joke on me, but it was no joke. Well, before it was over, of course, I went into shock and I had to call an ambulance. They handcuffed me. They even shackled me like I was a murderer. And finally, they took me into the sheriff's office. And amazing how they can lose your bond work. Before we went to the sheriff's office, the sheriff's jail actually, we stopped off at the bail bondsman's place and picked up our bond. So we walked in, bond in hand. Well, the bond was miraculously lost. Luckily enough, I knew somebody in a correction officer who looked at me and said, "Mr. Ferentinos, what are you doing here?" I said, "I don't know. All I know is I'm supposedly stole some money from the state. I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but they lost my bond." He says, "We don't lose things here." Well, it turns out they didn't lose it. They just said they lost it. He happened to find it within 10 minutes, and a half hour later I was released. We went through a year of agony. My wife wound up in the hospital. My business suffered tremendously for months because in the newspaper, the Orlando Sentinel printed that I was a prison releasee reoffender, which they picked up from Lawson Lamar's office. Now, this prison releasee reoffender, if you look at the statutes, it includes numerous things, probably around 20 or 25 different things that you've been in prison for, at least for 1 year in state penitentiary. And I don't even know what the inside looks like of one of these jails. Well, some of the things are murder, manslaughter, air piracy, bomb making, kidnapping, treason. These are some of the things that are included in the prison releasee reoffender. This is what they accused me of. Well, God bless Jody Fleischer from Eyewitness News, because she's the one that came forward and went to the state attorney's office and spoke to George Mangrum, the assistant state attorney, which I had filed charges on for disbarment. He claims that, well, I signed the wrong paper. I signed it and didn't read it. My secretary gave me the wrong paper. Well, where did you get your law degree from? Through a comic book, Mr. Mangrum? I mean, it doesn't make sense. How could you sign something, especially an attorney, and not knowing where it came from? Well, the whole scenario is, if you just put it all together, it's very simple. 2 weeks after I announced my candidacy, I was arrested. 3 weeks after my arrest, I was put down as a prison releasee reoffender. It took them 3 months afterwards to take it off after numerous attempts by my attorney and me telling him that this is not true. Because they have every known way, they have every tool imaginable in the state attorney's office to find out within a matter of a minute or 2 minutes if you are or if you aren't. But it took them 3 months to take it off, and if it wasn't for Eyewitness News, it never would have come off. Right now, it's still on my record, showing that I was a prison releasee reoffender if you look it up on the internet, on the clerk's website, Court of the Clerk. Lo and behold, we went to court numerous times, and it was always adjourned, or the state wasn't ready, or this one wasn't ready. It went on for almost a year to the date of my arrest. Finally, we picked a jury, went to court. They brought their witnesses, the investigators from the state of Florida. They flew someone also, this lady from Tallahassee, very nice lady. And of course, they questioned her. And when they were done with their witnesses, Judge Morgan, John Morgan, told the jury, will the jury excuse us for 10 minutes? We have some legal matters to discuss. At that time, Judge Morgan asked the state attorney, Mr. Mangrum, well, Mr. Mangrum, can you tell me where this theft has occurred? Because after these 3 witnesses that you have, by the way, do you have any more? He says, no, Your Honor. He says, well, where is the theft? Because apparently the state doesn't even know that this man owes any money. And he says, so my lawyer said I'd make a motion for acquittal. So there was dead silence there for about maybe 15 to 20 seconds where the judge turned around and said, Mr. Mangrum, are you going to argue this? And of course he tried to argue it, but there was no argument there. And of course I got my acquittal and papers in hand before I even walked out of the courtroom. But it shows you what politically motivated people they are in the state attorney's office. Instead of going after the real criminals, they come after business people, they come after housewives, they come after radio talk show hosts, they come after anybody that they feel is not the good old boy or is a threat to their power.